Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here in our show. Talking about FOMO, Rachel. Is she connected yet? Hello?
Hello?
Yes,
Yes,
she's
can you hear me?
here. Yes.
Yes, we can hear you fine.
All right, so we're talking about FOMO, Rachel. So then please do enlighten us and explain further about this phenomenon, FOMO, or fear of missing out.
So I've been hearing all your chats, and they're all very true.
Thank
So
you.
FOMO is the feeling of anxiety that's, an exciting or an interesting event may be happening somewhere else that's not where you are right now, maybe in your
Yeah.
bedroom. And FOMO could then trigger anxiety and behaviors like taking and refreshing your social media, like, stalking someone on their Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's closely related to the fear of social exclusion or
Social.
ostracism. But-
Fear out
yeah,
of social
but
exclusion. F. What is the abbreviation for that? Fear of
FOSE.
FOSE. Pose. Yeah.
Pose.
fear of, yeah.
So all right. So Rachel, is FOMO considered as a mental health condition?
Okay. So FOMO in itself is not always a mental health condition, although if there are other underlying anxieties or bigger issues, and if the worry you feel are, too much to handle, or it's significantly affecting your daily functioning, then it would be better to talk to clinical psychologists. But as we know, you don't necessarily have to have big issues to go to counseling.
Right.
But it's also important to remember that most people experience FOMO to some degree and at some time. So it's definitely normal. And because we all use social media, then it's increasingly common.
Yep. So, speaking of, Rachel, I wanted to ask, what is the main cause of FOMO? Because during our conversation, we mentioned a lot that it actually happens when we were younger, a lot more intense than we are now. Now we have the capability of telling ourselves, wait, slow down, it's not necessary. But before, it was like, if you didn't know, if you weren't part of it, you get anxieties. So why do they often experience FOMO in the younger generation?
So historically, people have always been concerned about where they stand socially, right? But with the advent of social media, FOMO has become a bigger issue, especially for young people who always seem to be, online, checking status updates and posts by their friends. So when young people miss a party, for example, they can feel a little less cool than their peers. But this shouldn't be that surprising, and it's pretty easy for their lives based on what they see online, and that could lead them to measure their own lives against these posts.
Yeah.
But you need to also remember that we humans are all social creatures. We, even adults, we have a high need to socialize, build connections, feel the need to be accepted by our group. So feelings of worry and anxiousness are expected when things go to south.
I think when you were just mentioning about a party, because I do have strict parents, Rachel, and also Akir and Kai, so then I usually don't go to those parties, especially in high school. They're like, nope, you're staying home. Nope, at 9 o'clock you have to be at home, and usually those parties started at 9 or 10. So I remember those days, I got those FOMO and whatnot, I felt left out, but I think as gradually we get older and whatnot, and then we already have our own substances and we have our own rules and regulations when you're, stepping into an adult, that kind of faded away. But let's say for those FOMO, even for millennials or even to adults, and it's still, they still have it in them and becomes more severe. What is the impact in their life if they still have this FOMO in their system?
So FOMO is kind of based on excessive worrying, right? Excessive worrying about what everyone else is doing, and that only causes people to miss out on their own lives. Like you guys were talking about, losing sleep and all, losing productivity. And in fact, FOMO can cause people to keep their attention focused outward instead of inward. This in turn may cause them to lose some sense of identity and struggle with low self-esteem even. Another consequence is, for example, distracted learning or working. Someone with high levels of FOMO are more likely to check their social media during class or during work. And, it's a big impact on life hygiene, because you're staying up all night
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
on your
Correct.
productivity levels.
I'm in that
And
condition.
sometimes it could also impact your financial life.
Ah, yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
it can go too far, yeah? So, since you've mentioned about the effect to the mental health, so how does FOMO actually affect our mental health and social life?
So FOMO can definitely worsen existing mental health problems, like inferiority complex, reduced self-esteem, loneliness, mood swings, or even social anxiety. And moreover, FOMO negatively impacts academic performance,
Yep.
work performance, and the motivation to do better because you're just comparing yourself with other people,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
example.
Right.
And it's possible, but it's very possible to enjoy social media without letting FOMO overtake you. Just remember that, social media is only half of the story because people are not posting, them just like sitting and drinking coffee at home
Yeah.
So
with pajamas on.
I need a tip because we're all parents. And I think our kids are at an age where they are getting into that FOMO
Soon,
culture,
yep.
depending on how much access they have to social media. How would you communicate to your young person? How would you communicate to your young person to be kinder to themselves when we see that they have the tendency to be really FOMO about something?
So I think one good tip for, as parents is to be consistently reminding them to focus on gratitude. So
Right.
what they currently have, what they're doing right now, and what they have is, enough. And you don't necessarily have to compare yourself to other friends, for
Yeah.
example.
Right.
It's all easier said, but consistency is key.
Yeah.
And maybe even help them feel like a social media detox.
Right.
Maybe you as a family can get like a Sunday phone off,
Yeah.
things like that. That could even really help them.
And especially the holiday season is coming up, guys. So usually, they're going to talk amongst themselves. Oh, I'm going now. The borders are open. I'm going to go travel here. And then not everyone can travel, right? Because some
That's
parents
right.
need to be, staying here and do their job or working or whatnot. And those are the FOMOs between those children thinking like, how come I'm not having a holiday just
Yeah.
like you? It doesn't necessarily have to be social media. Just in friends in person can make that happen too. But really interestingly, before our interview and our show, we were saying about how we can turn FOMO into something that's positive or a positive feeling. So how can we motivate ourselves to kind of direct that FOMO from the negative into a positive light, Rachel?
So I think that there are times when FOMO can be a good thing, tiny doses or specific situations. So for example, you're invited to your friend's birthday party. You know that you'd have a good time if you go, but right now all you can think about is the effort. So a little bit of FOMO can help you, motivate you to go. Or if you're not invited to a party, then even maybe physicalizing. You're like, but I feel guilty. Oh, but I fear missing out. Just go to that, boxing lesson, for example.
Yeah.
So it can motivate you if you try to, get around.
So you need to get out those endorphin out of your system because sometimes like that, right? Our schedule is very hectic. We have so many things to do, but we don't want to miss out, let's say, on a luncheon or an event.
Yeah.
So you took out yourself on a toll so you can be there. When you're present, usually you're not present anymore anyways because you just want to take a picture with them and then they put it in your social media
Right.
and our face is there.
And you're just already tired.
Yeah.
Right. And talking about FOMO, I mean, this is quite a personal question. We've been talking about FOMO for millennials, for example, but I think for adults, at least for myself, FOMO situation can be happen as well. And talking about not just fear of missing off of the party, but of the some kind of achievement.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
other
yeah,
people,
yeah.
successfulness, and other
Yeah.
people has reached at that level. Like
Yes.
then you just scroll up in everyone's friends, your all of your friends. Then
Yeah.
it's become FOMO unconsciously because of the achievement. How do you see that? And so for the adult.
So the important aspect is how you respond to the feelings of FOMO. So when we talk about putting it around, making it a positive thing. So when you see someone living their best life, try to trick your brain into thinking like, oh, that gives me hope that I can do the same. And watching him or her excel, for example, can be a way to encourage us to push more and use that as a motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Because it happens in real life, by the way.
Right,
Right?
yes.
We see that every day.
The right response to the content that, or the
Yeah.
things that we are facing on,
Yes.
maybe through the social media screen, yeah?
Yeah.
And I think it's also so important to keep reminding ourselves because, hey, we're just human beings. And
Yes.
sometimes when we're so far away from a goal,
Yeah.
perhaps, and then we have some friends or those influencers who are already God knows where, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's very interesting. So, Rachel, thank you so much for, the tips and tricks of dealing with FOMO because it certainly was. I think the best part that you said was you have to constantly remind yourself and the kids, if you tell anybody about
Yeah.
FOMO, of gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude,
I
gratitude,
agree.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Rachel Poniman,
Thank you
thank
very
you so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully next time you can come to the
Thank
studio,
you
yeah?
so much. It's my pleasure.
It's always
Yes.
a great time to have you.
Always a good time to
Bye.
have you.